I was asked recently what the most difficult thing about writing was. For me, I thought it was distractions or, typical kind of stuff that everybody has. But then I realized that that's really not it. Posing the question just slightly differently or hearing it differently, reading it differently. I would have to say the hardest thing for me to write, besides writing vanilla, which is very, very difficult for me, and I think that was probably my response, but also it's writing on the razor's edge. I'm writing an outlaw character who, well, former outlaw character. He came from an outlaw background, but now he's in the BDSM lifestyle. As a master, he has to master himself first and above everything else. So he can't go off half cocked. He can't just blow up and have temper. And I mean, he blow up, but check himself. That's the hardest thing. I could write an outlaw all day long, no problem. I could write him doing all kinds of messed up, brutal things and really get into it and write some good stuff. Writing a man that has a moral compass, that won't go over the edge, he'll swipe over the edge like a cat's, going at something, or, push the envelope and push the limits, but he won't go over the edge. That's been the most difficult thing. I wrote a very brutal scene, and I was trying to keep from letting him go over. Everything inside of me wanted him to go over, but it wouldn't have been true to who he is. I wouldn't trust him. His brother in the club wouldn't trust him. The reader, I don't think, would trust him anymore because everything he stood for and everything that he built this club on is this integrity and this ability to control himself. If he can't control himself, then how can I trust him to have my back, to protect me, to be who I think he's going to be, that he's going to be the hero. So that was the most difficult thing, is writing a man with a good moral compass who has a lot of grit and a lot of edge and a lot of heart, and who has a history of having done those things, has gone over the edge and is so willing to possibly dive back over and, not doing it, catching himself at that last moment, not letting himself go over. That's been the hardest thing, is trying to reel that in and decide what to do with him. Do I keep them as they are? Do I take them and go outlaw with them again? And that's a really difficult thing, and that's a thing that they would be struggling with as men. So that is the hardest thing I've come across. That, and having to jump back into trying to write Calico going vanilla.